All right, I'm going to go ahead and call us to order for January 22nd, the regular board meeting of the Board of Directors, and invite all of you to rise and join me in the salute to the flag. If I can get out of this chair. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Vice Secretary Uten, if you'd do the invocation for us.
Okay, thank you. Now, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. It's like the appointment to the Orange County Public District. The courage to change the things I can and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
I thought you were gonna throw something in about the 49er football.
Yeah.
team or something like
I was
that.
rooting for him.
I'm sure you were. So was somebody else in the room.
Purdy's Iowa Stater.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you do the roll call for us, please.
Thank you. Director Brett Eccles,
Here.
Vice Secretary Robert Uten,
Here.
Secretary Arthur Perry,
Here.
Vice President Arlene Schaefer, and President Mike Schaefer.
Here.
Thank you.
So one absence noted. Late communications,
No, Mr. President.
ceremonial matters, none.
None.
Public comments, not seeing anyone from the public with us this evening. We will drop to the consent calendar. Anyone from the board or staff wish to pull an item?
I'll move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent calendar is approved unanimously with one absence. No public hearings this evening, so Scott, we're gonna put you on the hot seat right away.
Talking about item number one, right? E1, correct? So,
I'm sorry, yes, general manager's report.
thank you, Mr.
Sorry.
President. Mr. President, Board of Directors, I would like to request this item be pulled and deferred to the February Board of Directors meeting, as Caitlin Tran, our finance manager, is not feeling well tonight, so she is not in attendance in tonight's meeting.
Any comment from anyone on that? Then we'll deem it continued to the study session?
We'll do a February board meeting for Board Directors. Meeting. Or unless, if you want to have the study session, we could do it.
Board meeting's fine. That's more for the public anyway. Okay, then item E2. Go ahead.
Well, actually, I guess we pulled it, right? So I'll save it for, because there seemed to be a discrepancy, so I guess I'll save it. But
Okay. Item E2, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. So Diana Bojarski will be giving this report.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. President and Board. In September of 2022, the Board of Directors approved creating a policy ad hoc committee to review district policies and ordinances and to make revisions if necessary to ensure that the documents are up to date with existing law and district procedures. The Policy Review Ad Hoc Committee met on 4 different occasions for public meetings, and all policies comments were considered. The suggested changes were reviewed by district council, and his comments have been incorporated into the administrative policies, the Citizens Advisory Committee Handbook, and Board of Directors Procedures Handbook. The employment law, Liebert, Cassidy, and Whitmore was used as a resource for updating language and new or changing legislation for selected policies in the employee handbook. The administrative policies were the first policies that the committee reviewed. And the purpose of the administrative policies is to assist district personnel in interpreting various administrative policies in accordance with the district's operations code. Attached to this report is the strike-through version illustrating the proposed revisions along with the final document to be adopted. And then next you have attached to the staff report is the Citizens Advisory Committee Handbook. And this handbook has been designed to assist the Citizens Advisory Committee in understanding its general responsibilities and their role as an advisory body. Attached to this report also is the strike-through version that illustrates the proposed revisions along with the final document to be adopted. And then next we have the Board of Directors Procedures Handbook, which you're all familiar with. And it is, the handbook is intended to guide the preparation for and conduct of Board of Directors meetings. And attached to the staff report, you'll see the strike-through versions that incorporates any proposed changes, along with the final document to be adopted. And then the final handbook, yes, is the employee handbook, which is a compilation of rules, policies, procedures, which govern and in fact personnel administration here at the district for all employees. As you know, we're all at-will employees. Some rules, policies, and procedures are required by federal and state law, while others were adopted by the board. The employee handbook is updated on an ongoing basis as new laws become effective or better clarification is needed or operational changes have been made. So when a policy is revised, staff are notified and they're asked to review the policy and acknowledge that they have read and that they understand it. Attached to this report also is the employee handbook, the latest version. So staff is recommending that the board approve resolutions number 2024-989 through resolution number 2024-992, approving each of the policy handbooks and the changes that have been incorporated. The alternative action would be direct staff to report back with more information. I'm happy to answer any questions.
How would you like questions? By each book, or do you want it just at random? How do you, what's your?
Well, why don't we do each book? Is probably easier if we maybe start with the administrative policies.
Board, what's your pleasure? Good, Brett.
On the, yeah, okay, so the administrative policies, I just had a question on the petty cash. The amount was essentially deleted, and I'm just trying to figure out what the policy now will read, because it was 10 grand, and now it doesn't appear to be anything monetarily wise.
I think what we did is we decided to make those in an internal document instead of a public document. So we removed a few things just for that, like it used to say the location of where the petty cash box was kept. And I don't think that needs to be a public document. That was our thinking.
Got it. So internally, there's an amount that staff, general manager knows about, and
Yes.
okay, got it. All right, that was mine on that one. Thank you.
Anything else on that handbook? On the CAC handbook, on page 11, can you go over the membership terms, since that was such a almost contentious issue with CAC and our term limits? Can you kind of
Mhm.
refresh us on that?
If Nolani, could you pull up the CAC handbook? Do you have a page to reference, or do you want us? Okay.
At least on the on the, not the final report, but the
Marked up.
marked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Essentially, my question is, we didn't put any term limits in for CAC, is that correct?
Yes.
I thought we had term limits before. There was 2? Okay, so now they can just continue to roll. One more. There you go. Do we need to revise any of that language to indicate that there are no term limits, or do we just leave it and assume, people assume there's no term limits?
Our suggestion is to leave it at pleasure of the CAC members, because we get CAC members who feel they've done their time and they want to move on, they resign. The board still has discretion to remove board members if you want to. You have that discretion.
Okay.
There's also, I think there's a requirement for CAC members to attend meetings, and if they're not attending those meetings, we could remove them ourselves. So, yes, there are no, term limits for CAC members, but there are mechanisms to remove a CAC member.
I know at the last CAC meeting, the chairman gave me a list of who's missed which meetings. There were a couple of members that are they don't come to meetings. I apologize because I couldn't find that in the handbook where we require them, if they miss how, if you miss 3 meetings, can you tell me where that is in here, or did I just overlook it?
Don't know off the top of my head where it is. We'd have to find it.
Um, I really think we need something with a little more teeth. I mean, again, there's 2 members that just don't come to meetings. Based on the list that Chairman Lester gave me. Which page?
I think page 15 discusses meeting times, quorums, and attendance at the bottom, C.
There is something I had it, meeting times, forums, and C on 15 starts,
I just found what I couldn't
right.
find before.
Right there at the top.
It's under C.
If you to
All CAC meetings.
you said that something about if they miss 3 meetings,
Yeah, that's on page 16 at the top there, the second
Right.
paragraph.
So if they miss 3 meetings in a year, we can remove them. So it doesn't say that.
It's a basis for dismissal, it says.
In that case, we would bring that back to the board, and it'll be the board's discretion if you want to remove that member because that member missed 3 or more meetings, or if you want to give that board member or that season another chance.
Okay.
It's your discretion.
Okay. And so that's pretty much implied in what you've got here.
We don't know that information though, unless you tell us at the meetings.
Correct. That's correct. Yes. If I remember off the top of my head, I think there is a couple that have. I probably meet that discussion. So we'll go back and look at their attendance record and bring that back maybe to the next study session for you guys to consider.
That I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I have a question. Every 2 years, do they have to reapply still? They still have to reapply, then those applications come to us still, right? For approval.
Okay. Thank you for finding what I obviously missed. Okay, anything else on the CAC handbook from anybody? Okay.
well, I didn't pay attention, but there was a question with term limits. When we put Sue Lester back on the committee, there are no term limits.
There are
That's what we said a little bit ago. Yeah, okay.
There are new term limits.
I just have a question following up on President Schaefer. So currently, and then under this proposed thing, if there are 2, 3, 4, whatever, members who are not attending, what's the process right now for those? I assume communication like, hey, you've got to show up in the next meeting. Has that been going on over the past year or so?
Thank you, Director Eccles. So the process right now is that a email is sent to that particular committee member, letting them know that they've missed X amount of consecutive meetings and that the chair has the authority to remove that individual should they continue to be absent. So
Okay.
they are notified once, twice, and then it'll be up to the chair to discuss and then the board to ultimately decide whether or not to remove that individual from the committee.
And at this point, has the chair addressed this?
We have removed one person in the past for consistently missing meetings, and we have not been able to refill that vacancy. So right now, I believe there are 2 individuals who have missed more than 3 meetings within this past term. So if the board would like staff to provide that list again for the past 2 terms, we're happy to do that.
At the last CAC meeting, Chairman Lester gave me the list
Okay.
of who's missed the meeting, so I know the two individuals specifically, but if staff can bring that back to a study session and we can decide how to handle them at that point, I think is
Yeah,
the
I
best
would,
we can do.
I would agree. Cool.
Okay, moving on to the Board of Directors Handbook. Any questions on the Board of Directors Handbook? You're all chicken. Have one thing if I can find it. Yeah, I won't. No, we're good. All right, then the next one is the Employee Handbook, I believe.
Yes.
Questions on the Employee Handbook? Okay, then I think we're looking for
Should be a separate motion,
Each one.
resolution.
that. I
Vote on
was
each
gonna ask
resolution.
you about the resolutions, yeah. Go for it.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-989.
I'll second it.
That was on the administrative
Administrative,
policies.
Yes.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. With one absence, I'm sorry. Yeah, go for it,
Make
Art.
a motion for, to approve, resolution number 2024-990. And, I think that's the adopt the revised employee handbook.
That would be the CAC handbook. Right? Did I get that wrong? Employee. Okay,
Second it.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with an absence.
I'd like to adopt, make a motion to adopt resolution 2024-991, Board of Directors handbook.
I'll second it.
I did find what I was gonna ask. There's a provision in here that says correspondence from the public to be considered 24 hours and it's considered at the meeting. Do we need to clarify that provision to say that it would be discussed during public comment or by leaving it the way it is, we could insert it wherever we need it? That's my interpretation. Is that how we should do it?
On a resolution?
No. The public submits comments. Yeah,
Within 24 hours?
yeah.
Yes, that's a new law that came down that once actually was a case that you can't give it to the board until you make it available to the public. But then they adopted legislation saying, or you can make it generally available to the public, tell the public where to find this information. And then somehow they're supposed to find it if it's after hours. And so that's what it's meant to address is generally the board doesn't get it unless the public can see it. But there's a way around it where if we make it where the public can find it, we can do that.
It doesn't have to necessarily slot into public comments. It can be wherever we consider it on the agenda, correct? And then the other part of it is anything that comes in the day of the meeting, we don't have to do anything with it.
Well, it says that, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a due process thing. If you an ambush, if they come in with a 100-page document and want you to rule on it, you want to preserve the right to say, no, you're too late.
Study it.
But you do need to let them talk
Okay,
because it's,
okay.
They have a right to
Okay,
come up here and make their case. But 100 pages, yeah, you're just trying to delay it for a few months,
could be.
Have we been following the right law? Because we get mail from Mr. Mosher, but we say that we've read it. It doesn't come to the public's attention. Do we have to give it to the public's, how do we get it to the public's attention?
So whenever written public comment is received, we also include it in the agenda packet under public comments. So it's provided to the public there.
So that kind of addresses what I had said to make it available. It is in public comment.
It is. So it's available, at that point, it's available on our website. We also place a hard copy in our binder that's available for the public to attend the meeting.
It's not formally in the document. Because the document was produced 72 hours in advance. So when you say it's,
When we do receive it via email, I still attach it directly into the board meeting packet, even if it is after the 72 hours. So once it's received, I add it to the public comment section.
that illegal? I mean, because it's not an emergency. Generally, the only thing that can go change the agenda is, and if it's an emergency.
Right, but because it's just public comment, we're just providing the written comment to the public or to the board as well as the public in the agenda.
Because I,
The only-
we get them because we're board members.
Back to that, it's, we get some that are the day of.
Mhm.
Still have a chance to attach that.
I do. So as soon as it's received, I disseminate it to the board and it's attached.
As long as
I
the
didn't-
public sees it at the same time you're seeing it, it's okay.
Hmm.
It's only when we're closed for the weekend and there's an issue like that.
I didn't know we attached it the day of.
We do.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 4-0 with one absence.
We're adopting resolution number 2024-992, Citizens Advisory Committee Handbook.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion again carries 4-0 with one absence. That's all of them, I believe.
Yep, that's it. I think.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I know we just passed this, but just one comment. I really like the process of doing this with the ad hoc committee, but I really like the, whatever you want to say, dual meeting with us and the CAC. Because I think a lot of our questions or concerns or opinions and theirs were all put together. So today was relatively easy. So for things like that, I would suggest we do that again. It was a nice process. So thank you.
And it was done very, very well. I totally agree. Okay, that take us to item E3.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is your standard quarterly report for the strategic plan of 2020-2025. This is your fiscal year 23-24 second quarter report. Just a friendly reminder that about this time next year, we'll start planning for the 2025-30 strategic plan. So that's coming up. That's just around the corner, but this is your standard report. Happy to answer questions you may have.
For next year, you anticipate, I think the last two updates or plans we've done in-house. Okay. Any questions for Scott or staff?
Save us a lot of money by doing it in-house.
I-
It's been pretty successful.
I think it's been pretty successful. I think with your knowledge and what you know, I think it's been done pretty well, so. Go ahead.
Yes, Scott, just, see, it was on 23, 24, number 4, under 5.1, number 4, but it was recognize students who model good recycling practices, discontinued after COVID and all that, but now that we're on the other side of all that, is that something we can revamp?
Sure, we can explore it, but I wouldn't hold your breath. It's really hard to change the curriculum. They have it, they plan the curriculum in advance, and when we come in there at the last minute, they get a little agitated over that. So we'll reach out to them and
Okay.
see if we can do something. but
Okay, thank you.
I think stressing what we've got coming up with 1383, you'd think it'd carry some weight. They think that, we've talked about that the message has got to get to kids. It's not gonna work
Right.
coming just to us, so I agree. It's too bad.
Comment. 4.8 is the recycling center at Orange Coast. Can we hear an update or not?
This Friday's, there's actually, if you see, there's a story in the Daily Pilot about it, if you've seen it there, that came out today about the closure. I can print that out, send it to the board. But this Friday, at liaison committee, which we're hosting, I have representatives from OCC Recycling Center going to be here
Oh, good.
that day, and they're going to give us an update on where they're on that. So right now, what they're trying to find is a third-party operator. And so they're going to hopefully share with us who they've been negotiating with, trying to find that third-party operator.
Any other questions for Scott? All right, then E4, performance measurement report.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is your annual performance measurement report for 2023. And like, unlike the strategic plan, we're going fiscal year. This is on a calendar year based on from January to December. We just do that for simplicity reasons for the public. But in your staff report, there's a list of significant achievements that was made in 2023, along with some improvements that we'll be focused on in 2024. So obviously, one of the big, I would say, not disappointment, but unfortunate news was that also we had 4 SSOs in the fourth quarter. That was unfortunate, but on the flip side of that, as you see in your staff report, less than 2% of the wastewater that was spilled got into the surface waters, and that's what really the state looks for, is how many gallons, how much wastewater entered the surface waters. And fortunately, the 4 SSOs that we had, very minimal sewage entered surface water, so that's good news. But you can see quite significant achievements in 2023. I'm very proud of everything we've done. I'm very proud of staff of everything they've achieved. I think this report exemplifies staff's commitment and dedication to protecting the environment and their commitment to the organizations and to our community.
Go.
You have a percent of trash cart replacement request responded within 1 day. I think you're gonna have to put the whole staff, when we roll out when we roll out that.
Blue card. The one that you're in the video with, that one? Yeah.
Well, but that'll minimize the amount of angst, but this is, will be probably an unrealistic, performance measure once the third cart begins to be rolled out.
And we'll identify that in the report. We'll say this is an anomaly, this is a one-time issue, it might spike it a little bit, but we'll mention it.
Yeah, I know.
Can I ask a question? Okay, so when the rollout goes and they find a second large cart, are they gonna pick it up and take it? Or how do we determine, how do we determine if it stays or not, if they want to pay for it?
So you're saying technically they have a third cart, you're saying? They have a
Oh,
third cart, because
I'm talking
technically
about-
they're allowed to have two 90-gallon cart, or two mixed waste carts.
No, but I'm talking about the waste cart, the trash cart. Are we gonna physically take?
Yes,
two
we'll
of them?
take one of them away and replace it with a blue cart. That's what they're doing, yes. Yes.
And they can request
They can request to pay
a
for it.
return.
Yeah, they can request to pay for it.
Yes,
by-
they want
by
to
the
keep that
board.
second one, they can keep it, but they'll have to pay for it. Yes.
Are we gonna do that after the fact, or are we gonna?
Yes, after the fact, yeah, we'll return if they want to come back. We would encourage them not to at this point. I at least try the blue carts, because chances are, if they're going to separate their recycling, the blue carts, it's going to make more room in their trash carts. So my suggestion is try it first. If you still need that second cart, call us, we'll bring it back.
They'll have an easy way to notify staff, and staff can tell them, that's what we'd like to see you do.
We'll be doing that like through our town hall meetings, which are.
But on the day of, so let's say 1,000 people show up at the town hall meeting, there's 22,000 residences. So 21,000 aren't gonna be clued in by the town hall meetings.
I can just go based on past practices. When we did the organic recycling program, we had 8 town hall meetings. We didn't get any complaints about the organic recycling program. Everyone knew about the program. So based on past practice, I'm pretty confident our town hall meetings, along with staff's comprehensive outreach effort, will get a pretty good response.
Okay, we finalized, if you have 245s, you can keep the 245s.
Well, it's 30 gallons, 64s, and 90 gallons. Those are the two sizes.
Say that again.
30 gallons, 64 gallons, and 90 gallons. Those are the 3 sizes that will be available.
So. I'm talking about trash.
Yes.
Okay. I have 2 small ones right now.
You have 2 30 gallons, you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
So I can keep those 2 and they're not going to take one away. Because as we talked about this earlier.
Yes. I think we're still exploring that, right?
Right.
Yeah, so as far as collection, the 2 smaller sizes would be equivalent as far as the one included in standard service, but we do need to work out with those specific requests, how we'll know to keep those 2 on site.
But we have to put a request in to keep the two?
So staff is working through that with CNR, and once we have that information, we'll share it with you.
Yeah, but in our complex, most of them have the two smaller ones. And, you know, we're gonna have it's going into our newsletter, not our newsletter, but our complex's newsletter.
As we have details, we'll definitely keep you updated.
And I understand that the small is because of space constraints. Is that correct?
Yes,
That's
yes.
fine. So now if you have the two small ones plus a 90-gallon blue cart, it's gonna probably make your space constraints even.
Don't they have smaller blue carts?
You do, yes.
Yeah,
you use small
yeah.
blue, yes.
Because I'm going to get one of those then.
You might guess which one I'm gonna ask, Ken. How'd you guess? Are we still working off that one claim?
No, we should be getting our EMOD, our EMOD for next year pretty soon.
It's nice to see it dropping.
I believe it's gonna drop significantly when we get our next EMOD, which should arrive.
This is the third year, and traditionally after the third year is when you see the reduction from something like that, so. Okay,
Also on the net to hauler rate. I think I think our ordinance says we're supposed to be in the middle.
And 10% of the average, county average.
Well, I don't know if you can pull it up, but page 25, it doesn't look to me like that would be the case.
We are well below the 10%. We're actually,
Which is good.
yes, it's good. So we're actually better off than what we expected.
Chart says we're supposed to be in the middle. Anyway, keep that in mind, but I'm glad to see we're below. Thank you.
okay, anything else on? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just a couple, on page 13, just so I make sure I understand. So the goal is, missed trash collection to respond and rectify within one business day. So 2 years prior, we were basically almost 100%. And then this year, if I'm looking at it, 2 out of 10 houses were not responded to. Am I looking at that correctly? Is that
Yeah,
one
you're
way
right,
to look
based on
at
that,
it?
2 out of 10, sure.
Okay,
I'd say that.
all right. And then with the, where is it? On page, oh yeah, page 20, improvement, obviously, as we know, on the, cleaning the, system. But we were looking at 100%, we came in at 90. Can you just kind of walk me through that? I mean, great improvement, so.
Yeah. A couple of reasons. One, we had, we're down a staff. We had one staff person that left, that resigned, so we had a vacant position, so we didn't have 3 full crews. Also, our older cleaning unit has been in the repair shop. That's why the board approved purchasing one sooner, so it's being manufactured as we speak right now. And that's what happens when we have older units like that. The unit's going to be approaching 12 years, and so it's breaking down a lot, so that's causing us some delays.
Okay, gotcha. And then is that probably the same answer for the average footage of daily pipeline cleaning?
Yeah, it's-
Same
it's- it
answer.
ties into that, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. All right. That's what I have. Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, then we'll receive and file the measurement report and move to item E5.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is the time of the year when I share with the board of directors my performance goals that the board sets for me to achieve for the calendar year of January through December. Attached to your staff report is the 2023 goals. I am pleased to say that all those goals have been completed. And then for your considerations, our proposed 2024 goals. Even though the staff report does say adopt, but obviously if you want to give different kind of goals or add goals, I'm open for that discussion. This just kind of get the thinking going through for the board if you're comfortable for my goals for 2024. So the recommendation is also to authorize the president to negotiate compensation adjustment and then report back on a tentative agreed upon adjustment to the board's approval consideration at a future board meeting.
And I'll schedule a meeting then to sit down and talk about that. On your goals, number 4, you've done an EOC training just about every year.
Difference with this one, though, I'm going to have field staff involved. So this is going to be a little bit different. So in
Okay.
the past, it's been tabletop exercises. This one's going to get involved with the field staff. So we'll communicate via the radios out in the field. So this will be a little bit different, more almost closer to a full-size exercise.
Okay, so I don't know if you're aware that this month there is a county EOC meeting on the 29th. And I know Director Perry doesn't want me to say this, but being the alternate for ISDOC as the coordinator for EOC, I'm gonna be at that meeting if I can find the building. I know it's,
Which one is?
no, the one on San Diego Canyon Road.
Or District Council I live, that's our neighborhood.
What?
That's our neighborhood. That's where we live.
It'd be tough to find, but you can do it.
I'm sure. So, okay, are you attending that?
Probably not. I'll probably send a staff there.
That's fine, or, yeah, okay. Can they show me how to get, no.
Just plug it into your system.
It's just kind of a weird little turn to get in that place is the only thing. And it looks like you're entering into Area 51 or something like that. So, okay, talk a little bit about the wind turbine one.
Well, if you scroll down to the next page, when I talk about the wind turbines, I'm not talking about the turbines you see out at Palm Springs, okay? So what I'm talking, these are different. So, and honestly, I don't even know if it's feasible or not, to be honest with you. And the goal is really not to get 100% reliability on wind, because there are some stations that just don't have the wind capacity. Like the ones I'm thinking about top of my head are like President, right? It's be a great location for that because it's out of public view. It's right by the park. It can be very windy there. It's just really a feasibility study. Is it possible? That's what we're looking at. Just thinking outside the box, other alternative source of power.
Yeah, I mean, that's thinking out of the box, so to speak, and I don't have a problem with that, so. Did I say something funny? Darn, I was hoping to compete with Uten. Okay, anything else on the goals? Go.
Number 1 is number 1 for a reason, and that's obviously critical. Can we, I don't know, better way to phrase it or detail that specific goal just a tad? Because right now, if I'm just Joe, nobody, I just go, well, is that really a specific and measurable goal? Yes, it's our goal to implement the system that we all kind of, I don't know, I'd like to see that maybe reworded a touch, maybe a little bit more specific and measurable. And I don't know what that looks like, but just something to consider.
Might be a time frame.
Yeah, just something in there, because that is obviously a critical component for all of us in the coming years, so.
Even something to the effect that implementing the 3-cart system in accordance with SB 1383.
Right.
Or something.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, begin phase, for phase 2 of headquarters. Have we budgeted already for that?
Yes, we budget $50,000 for that. Yes. Okay. That's it.
Okay, we need a motion to approve these goals, I would assume.
It's received and filed for now. I've got some directions to come back with the tweak, goal number 1. Why don't I bring that back for your consideration? I can bring back at a future date. This is really for more of a discussion. So I think for this council, so the board does need to give you directions to meet with me. Right? So you do need to get approval from the board to have you meet with me to discuss compensation.
I had one more question on, first of all, great job completing the current goals, so thank you for that. I did have a question though on the podcast. I don't recall that. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that one?
So this goal was actually revised. I believe I had a discussion with President Schaefer on this one, and because the original goal, which keep going down.
It was number 7, I believe.
So the original goal was to develop storm drain maps with our manholes. So when we have a sewage spill, the staff would know where that wastewater is going in the storm drain system, and they could track it down and capture it. Right now, our maps are difficult to read. So the idea with this goal was, first, well, why don't we just pay a consultant to develop some new maps? Well, lo and behold, I heard the city of Costa Mesa, they're redoing their master plan of their sewer system, so they'll have new maps for us. But it's got to go through this process. So okay, fine, don't need to spend the money on that. The city's already doing it. So when I found out about that, met with President Schaefer. What about a podcast? You know, it's a lot of public agencies are implementing podcasts, and so we did some preliminary research and found it can be quite extensive, quite time, a lot of resources, a lot of staff time of planning, editing, you know, having the equipment. I'm having a discussion with staff tomorrow because I'm always getting their feedback. What do they feel about this? Because if we did go down that road, it's going to take a lot of staff time. So this was just my preliminary findings. Don't have a recommendation at this point. I will come back later to the board if we should recommend continuing or recommending a podcast, or maybe not. Because from our preliminary discussion with other agencies, it's the audience is not as large as we thought it would be. Yeah, so it might not be worth spending all that resource and time for a small audience. You know, so.
I would tune in if Nolani was the host of the podcast, but you know. No, just that one threw me. I was like, we're gonna do a podcast. Okay, but
It was just a research.
okay.
We had sort of kicked that around, and, you know, everybody's got a podcast going, and so I'll be curious to see what you find out.
A lot of negative repercussions coming from said podcast potentially.
Yeah, I think that's possible.
I've said enough dumb things up here. If I'm on a podcast, it'd be
We
scary.
can capture something.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay, anything else on that item? Then at this point, we'll finalize these once you come back with the changes we've talked about. But at this point, we need to have the board authorize me to sit down with Scott to.
I'll move that President Schaefer meets with General Manager Carroll to discuss compensation.
Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one absence, so I'll connect with you to
What's your time frame? I mean,
as soon as possible. Yeah, let's just get it done. Okay. I have a feeling the engineer in that ugly jersey would like to speak. I can't
Yeah,
wait.
if it
I
was
can't
blue,
wait.
if it was blue and gold, that would be ugly.
That'd be okay. I can't wait till next Monday. I think it's time for the engineer's report.
I did not have an engineer report this month. I apologize for that. I'll make up for it next month. But I do have an item before the Board of Directors tonight. So honorable board members, good evening. And just as information, I'm going to be dedicating my report tonight to a 40-year wastewater veteran, Ron Wade. He passed away from cancer this past Saturday. I worked with Ron for a little over 25 years, and he contributed definitely to my successful career and taught me about wastewater treatment. So with that, I'm going to be requesting you to approve a contract with Sancon Technology, among a couple other action items tonight. And we plan to contract for the removal of calcium from almost 3,000 linear feet of sewer pipe. And let me show you a few pictures. This is one picture where this is a pipe, and there's probably 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch, and in some places like in here and here, it could be 1.5 inches of calcium clinging onto the inside of the pipe. Next photo. This is again, a big calcium blob that we're gonna have to remove. Hopefully, we'll remove it without, and we've been successful in removing this without damaging the clay pipe. Next picture. This is one where it's actually starting to close up the pipe. And then the last one. Just what's happening here is we're starting to form, I'll say, stalactites, and you can see the calcium is coming through the crown of the pipe and starting to drip down into the pipeline. If left another 20 years or so, it's going to keep moving down until it completely closes up the pipeline. What happens is this stuff is rough enough that rags and stringy material gets caught on it, and then it starts basically to create a big rag ball. Once you get one string, it's like a magnet. Next thing you know, within, it could be a week, I've seen big rag balls form once you get one little string stuck on something like this.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
you say several times in your report that calcium removal project does not increase capacity of the affected sewers. The pictures you show, almost every one of them has,
Well, I guess Director Rutan is, I guess we could, instead of, I'll say, we're restoring capacity. That's probably a more accurate term, but I'm not increasing capacity, and that's what sets off CEQA, is if we increase the capacity in our sewer. But if I'm restoring it or doing a maintenance project,
Yeah.
from a CEQA perspective, we're okay.
yeah, okay. I hear you, and I would have worded it differently.
Sure. I was trying to use the CEQA language, so I apologize for
no,
the
I hear you.
confusion. Because it is, I guess I'll say legalese when we're starting to talk about that.
Okay.
Now, as you recall, when we were doing some of those ductile iron lining projects, you recall, I showed a video of a chain flail, and that's basically a device with, I'll call it motorcycle chain, and it flies around like a propeller, and they run this thing down the sewer, and the chains then begin to eat away at this calcium. And what we're requiring the contractor to do is get within an 1/8 inch of the wall of the clay pipe. And if we get an 1/8 inch or less, we're going to call it good, and that's what we're striving for. And then in another 20, 30 years, if it looks like this again, we'll have to come back and do it one more time. The districts, if we were to, let's say, replace these pipes, and I don't think we want to do that, we'd probably spend somewhere between definitely spend over $3 million replacing all the pipe that we need to clear out the calcium. So that's not what we're necessarily interested in doing, and I believe that this project, as envisioned by Rob Hamers, will basically restore the capacity and get the work done that we need to get done. This project will do about like I said, little under 3,000 feet. We have about 6,000 feet of pipelines with calcium, but the other 3,000 feet, when RBH and Associates and I were reviewing the films, some of them are just a very light coating of calcium on the inside. So I don't want to spend any money on those, because after 20 years, if you have an 1/8 inch of, say, calcium, I'm going to restore it to within an 1/8 of an inch. Why spend the money right now? Let's wait until we get more growth, and it could be another 20 years before we have to do anything with them. So that was the goal, is if the pipe had less than an 1/8 inch coating of calcium, we let it go. So when we're done with this project, I'm going to say for now, we're probably done for the next couple, 5 years, 10 years down the line, depending. We have a CCTV project coming down the line in about 2, 3 years. We'll take a look at all of that again, and we'll see how much regrowth we have in the pipes that exhibit calcium growth.
Mark, are the majority of the calcium deposits at joints?
No, well, they're all over the place. A lot of them are like this, but it's a very light flowering on the inside of the on the inside of the clay pipe.
Are these, this 3,000 feet, is it generally in one part of town?
It's over, I don't have a map. I did back, a year or so ago when I talked about calcium removal. Maybe it was 2 years ago now.
time flies, but I had a map and it's about 5 different locations. But at majority of the individual pipelines are north of the freeway.
And what,
When I say north of the 405 freeway, sorry.
yeah. So this question, I hate to sound, let me dumb it up. Where does the calcium come from?
Well, I mean, how does it get in our sewers? I'm not 100% certain. We've got a couple of working theories on that, but it comes out of the groundwater.
So it's a
Basically.
natural thing. It's not something that, I mean, people aren't putting things in the sewer to cause calcium.
No.
This is a growth that's coming from natural.
It's coming
source.
out of the pipe. I'll say the water is migrating through the clay pipe at joints, and in like this case, through the actual pipe, and it basically, the water evaporates, and what you have left is this calcium growth, like a stalactite in a cave.
So, and I kind of remember Rob Hamers talking about this years ago. We don't use this kind of pipe anymore when we do.
We use clay pipe, we use SDR 26 PVC pipe, which is very thick PVC, but clay pipe is very much in our
Okay.
wheelhouse. I will say though, Director Rutan is correct. Some of the pipelines had oakum joints, or they had rope and oakum or rope and graphite, or some cases just used, I'll call it mortar, and basically buttered up the joints after they put them together. And in those cases where, like today, they use neoprene joints, and those are very watertight joints. So in those cases, we're not going to have any migrating through the pipeline, but you could potentially have a piece of pipe here and a piece of pipe there, where you end up with a situation where I guess I'll say hard water will get through migrate after many, many years, migrate through your clay pipe.
Yeah, I think that what you just said makes a lot of the hard water, and traditionally Costa Mesa is known for really hard water.
Hard water and colored water.
Yeah. Okay.
2 bids were received on January 3rd of 2024 in the amount of $133,750, and a second bid for $134,200 from Sancon and Performance Pipeline Technology respectively. The engineer's estimate for this project was $145,200. As you look, the 2 bid prices were very close to one another. Basically, I'll say $134,000. So the documents were good, the bids were good. It just shows that we had a very tight bid this year for this project. So what I would like to recommend, that this maintenance project, and since this maintenance project does not increase the capacity, please adopt the 327 calcium removal project is categorically exempt for the CEQA Act, Section 15302, Class 2, and make an award or award a contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Sancon Technology Incorporated, in the amount of $133,750. And lastly, approve a 10% contingency in the amount of $13,375 for the project. That concludes my report. Do you have any other additional questions?
Total no dig.
No dig. It would be much, much more expensive if we had
I-
to dig
I
this
can't-
stuff up.
I can't even imagine.
President, if you could make the CEQA determination first.
Okay. Want to guide me through that, somebody?
I was trying to think how to say it.
I can do it.
Basically, what's the term? It's CEQA exempt or CEQA? You'd basically motion to adopt the 327 calcium removal project as categorically exempt per California Environmental Quality Act, Section 15302, Class 2. Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one absence. Thank you. Thank you guys for bailing me on.
Couple more.
We have two more.
Okay, item 2,
Want me to do it?
go.
Okay. Make a motion to adopt, award a contract to the lowest responsible and responsible bidder, Sandcon Technology, in the amount of 133,750.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries 4-0 with an absence. And
Make another motion to approve a 10% contingency in the amount of 13,375.
Second.
discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion again.
Question, Mark, when you do the engineer's estimate, you include the contingency?
No, you're talking about the engineer's estimate for bidding, or are you talking about my budget estimate?
Your budget estimate?
Yes, I usually, early on, put a number, and I usually use a little higher than 10% in budgeting purposes.
That motion carried 4-0 with one absence as well. What time frame for all this work?
The contractor is very anxious to get started now. So I'm gonna say 2 to 4 weeks they'll be starting, and I'm gonna say within 20 working days, if we get good weather, 20 working days, they'll be done and out.
Good. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Now go change your clothes.
Please not here.
Yeah.
All right, I don't see Treasurer Davis here, so we'll skip that. Mr. Burns, anything to report this evening, sir?
Yes, Mr. President, thanks. Nothing but bad news, I guess. You know, the Supreme Court's taken this case up. You've probably been reading about called El Dorado. It has to do with El Dorado, and they're challenging all impact fees. If that case goes the way the plaintiff wants it to go, I mean, 80 bar the doors, we're out of business. But
Been doing this for,
we face these challenges all the time, whether it's by the legislature or a challenge. But I mean, it's a really broad challenge. And
Yeah.
fortunately, some of the justices are saying, you mean I can't go across Golden Gate Bridge unless, and pay this toll and get across unless they've done a study showing where every nickel went and so maybe they get it. So
this has been
wouldn't,
going
I
on
wouldn't
for a
panic
long
yet, but
time.
keep your eye on that one.
Good. Thanks, Alan. All right. For nothing, no. Local meetings. Bob Uten.
Actually, I didn't attend the Orange County Sand District meeting. I had another meeting to attend.
Did you really?
I wish I'd attended. County Sand District.
The alternate attend? That would be you, Director Perry.
Yes, well, I attended, but I didn't know Bob wasn't gonna be there, so I couldn't. So I didn't have a microphone because I stayed at home to watch it. So I'll have a written report for it. I've already got that.
Sarfa?
Meeting's on Thursday. of this week.
The next two, do we have any kind of written, obviously, there's no written report from Secretary, from Vice President Schaefer, so we'll dispense with that. ISDOC, I missed the last meeting, so I have nothing to report there either. SDRMA, we had our board meeting last week, our January board meeting. The big thing out of our January board meeting is that we now have a vacancy on our board of directors. David Aranda was accepted the fact that he would he had no choice. He was automatically removed because he moved. He now lives in the state of Oregon. So staff will be receiving notification of a vacancy on the board. And if I remember right, it's a 30-day notice, and then we'll accept applications from interested parties, and then the board will pick a successor to Mr. Aranda. We also did an evaluation of our current CEO. Tried to do an evaluation on someone who's only been around for 8 months was a little tough and it was a little laborious, to be honest with you. And, but it was done. And, I can tell you that, Diana, probably for your benefit, you're gonna see a lot better responses and a lot better action from SDRMA. We've taken some, or the CEO has taken some actions to clean things up. So I think it's gonna be better. The one thing that we've been working with our carriers on is this nonsense that we get the rates from our carriers after budgets have already been established at the different districts. And then the carriers come back and say, oops, we made a mistake. The rate is really this. We've drawn the line and told our producers, our underwriters, we need these rates by now. And so I think you're going to get a better timing on working them into the budget. So that doesn't mean the rates are going down, because they're not. But I think it'll be overall a better situation for everybody. So look forward to that. Other meetings, anybody, Bob?
I went to the Waco meeting and Linda Ackerman always produces a lengthy report on MWD, but basically, I think the important thing was they're going to try to be more collaborative with the water agencies they serve. They had a surplus of water from the Delta last year, and so they put it in the Paris Valley Lake and every place they could. They did not put any in the groundwater storage system for Orange County, and they didn't need to because the rain helped fill the district. And the producers are using a lot less water because of water conservation and because a lot of them have the PFAS treatment systems that need to be installed. So normally Director Schaefer would report on the legislative meetings is going to be held in Sacramento, May 21 to 22. And there was a webinar, CSDA is producing a webinar on the ACMD initiative on clean fleet regulations. I don't know if staff have seen that, or maybe it's going to be available in the future. And then the ISDOC meeting will be coming this Thursday.
Is it this Thursday or next Thursday?
Or a week, it's at the end of the last Thursday in the month.
This week?
That's the workshop.
Yeah, and I can't make that. Anything else? Okay. Then we have no old business. Oh, before I leave the local meetings, will you guys be sending out a new fillable? I noticed that the mileage went down from last year, which was interesting.
New meeting reimbursement form?
Yeah. Yeah, but we had the one from SDRMA and the mileage dropped by, it was 6.56, now it's 6.40 or something. And no big deal. I just thought that was kind of strange that mileage expenses would go down. Okay.
When you send that out, can you make it like a full page? Because the last one came out like half a page. So I can print it the right way.
Oral communications and director comments. Anybody have anything? Go ahead.
I just wanted to wish Vice President Schaefer a speedy recovery, and we hope we just prayers with her and her family right now, and we hope to have her back soon. But most importantly, hopefully she continues to get better, and we'll hopefully see her back very soon. So I miss having my little neighbor right here. So we'll get her back soon. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. We'll take Bob.
Mark asked that we close the meeting and Ron Wade's, because he's passed away. I hired Ron Wade. He young operator, or he was an experienced operator out of Ohio. Very good operator.
The other question I had was, I still get a lot of information from SWANA, and they have a pretty robust seminar coming up in May in Palm Springs. There was a lot of information. There's 3 tracks. One track almost specifically devoted to recycling in 1383. If I can clear something, I may be interested in going to that. It seemed like a reasonable thing. Am I still a member, or I'm still a member of SWANA, right? We double check on that one. Okay. Anything else? All right, then if there's nothing else, we will adjourn in memory of Mr. Ron Wade. And appreciate you guys bringing that up to us. And with that, we're adjourned.